Hi, I'm Bob,
And I'm Sherry.
and this is Mostly Politics with Bob and Sherry.
As you can see, we're in different locations today because I have to work. I'm a small business. We can't find people to work. And we just feel compelled to come to the show and talk about the election results from the primary. And also, we've been doing this show for 4 weeks. And, some of our thoughts. And we want to come on and thank everybody. And what do you think, Bob? We're just going to let this happen the way it happened.
Okay. Yeah, last night as I was watching the returns come in, I saw something that made me reflect on one of our main missions for doing this. One of our mission to, help the voters, make it easy for them to be informed so, they can vote for the right candidates for them. And I was watching the election returns, and Sean Hannity and Geraldo were on. And the two of them were just gushing about their friendship with Dr. Oz. I mean, they were talking about how long they've known him, what a great guy he was, and how just literally gushing. And earlier, I had seen Oz make some speech, and in the short speech, he talked about Sean Hannity, thanked him, his good friend Sean Hannity, and how much he helped him out in the campaign and how he did him. And it I guess it kind of bothered me, or it affirmed for me what our mission was, but it kind of bothered me a little because I feel like Sean Hannity has a powerful platform and he knows it. He's not from Pennsylvania. And, Donald Trump said, I don't really know Kathy Barnett. I don't really know her positions. Sean Hannity said the same thing, but yet they would endorse Oz and even go negative on Kathy. So there, it's just full of bias. It's not like they looked at both candidates and made a good decision. They both favored Oz for the reason they did, and I just feel like that kind of deceives the voters because the voters look up to these people. They see Sean Hannity's a influential figure. Of course, Trump is an influential figure, and they use their positions to just endorse their friend or push their friend without actually considering what the voters are. And that kind of goes against everything we're about because we're not here telling people who to vote for. We're just giving the candidates a platform and hoping that viewers will watch it, voters, and get a sense for who they really like and vote for the people that align with them.
Well, I thought of the same thing. When we started the show, when you and I met on Facebook first, and I ran for school board, and the thing when I went on door to door knocking on doors, that's what I thought too. Is like pe- people in a grassroots level that want to run have great ideas. That goes on both sides of the party because you and I have met people from both sides of the party that have great ideas. But unfortunately, the people get their name known are the people that have the big money running ads. I think we interviewed Steve earlier, Steve Kochnowski, and he was talking about how much ad Republican were running through this whole election because on the Democrat side, they kind of already knew who their candidates are. I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just saying that it's kind of interesting on both sides. On one side, the big money determines who the candidates are. Like you said, Sean Hannity, Gerardo Rivera, and I think Gerardo is a Democrat.
Yeah.
They have a big platform. Their people listen to them, and Dr. Oz has been on TV for years, and it just seems so unfair to me. That's so unfair that because the money and the media power, and I looked at the money spent yesterday. I think Dr. Oz and McCormick all spent $14 million.
Right.
Kathy only spent like $1 million,
Yeah.
but she still got three. What is it? You go
It may
ahead.
have been 1,000,008 what I saw, but yeah, it's a small fraction of what the other.
Fraction of what happened,
Right.
and I just thought that she's from Pennsylvania. and I know we're not supposed to endorse anybody on the show, but just to look at it, and again, like you said, it goes back to why we started the show, because we want to even the playing field. We want to make sure lesser known candidates, regardless what party they're from. I'm even reaching out to independent because when I ran for as an independent. To have the platform, to come on the show and to just talk about who they are, and so viewers can get to know them in a more intimate sense.
Well, and I heard from committee members and people that their motivation was supposedly the most electable candidate. So they decided, and as you stated, Oz and McCormick were in the 15 million range. Kathy Barnett basically caught up to them with a very small budget, and they say, well, she's not electable. Well, how do you really know? I mean, Donald Trump wasn't electable. So,
Exactly.
I get that she hadn't had to face any negative campaigning, and some of what they did was, I think, fair, but some of what they did was out of bounds, in my opinion. But at any rate, you can't tell me when they were close together like that without any help. She wasn't getting any help from the national media, big endorsements or anything. You can't tell me that if she had won the primary that she was definitely unelectable. If you then give her the money of the party behind her, the national Republican media support. So you take what she did on the grassroots and then supplement that with all that influence and money. And you're going to tell me she's definitely not electable? I just don't buy it. I'm sorry.
Well, it's interesting to me because Donald Trump wasn't electable, right?
Right.
And Fetterman, on the Democrat side, and
Yep.
people think he's not electable now, but he's the candidate for the Senate seat
Yep.
on the Democrat side. So to me, Fetterman is like a Trump on the Democrat side, Bernie or Trump. So it seems like whether it's the left or the right, people want someone that's organic, that's genuine, to their cause.
Right.
I mean, I thought it was kind of weird when Fetterman showed up with shorts and shorts and t-shirt to meet the president of the United States. Am I crazy about Joe Biden? No, but I thought, well, should we respect the
It's sort of his
office of the
branding,
presidency?
He's
He
always
just
been.
he just show up as who he is, and people love Fetterman for that, and that's why people love Trump. And I think for Trump to endorse Oz surprised a lot of people, not
Yeah.
only on the Republican side, but also I believe on the Democrat side.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and I think the people that are more MAGA, if we're going to use that word, were probably
Right.
in the Kathy Barnett camp, and they were not happy with Trump's endorsement. So, if anything, I think the negative most likely forced a lot of those people towards McCormick.
I have to tell you, I call one of my friend, who is a staunch Trump supporter. Okay,
Okay,
and I talked to her prior to the election. So I said, "Oh, who are you going to vote?" And she says she's going to vote for Oz. I said, "Well, why?" Because based on all her Republican beliefs, that Oz is nothing what she wants to vote. This is what she told me, which is very profound to me. And I thought, oh my God, I can't believe certain people think that way. She said the reason she voted for Oz is because she does not want the media to say that Trump endorsed candidate could not win.
oh wow, I never even thought of that
So,
angle.
so she
Oh,
exactly. I didn't think of that way too, because to me, I would elect the person that I feel most beneficial to my cause, right? Maybe that's just the American way. But I wouldn't want to, like, I wouldn't endorse someone because I thought I'm going to help whoever endorsing the person to be more popular or famous. So, but that's what she thinks. She is have such allegiance to Trump that
wow.
she gonna vote for us, even though it against everything she believed. I don't think that's you and I at all.
No, and most of the really hardcore Trump people that I know, I wouldn't say they turned on Trump, but they were not happy with that endorsement, and they weren't going along with it. So,
To me, it feels like after the election, look at the Democrat side of it, things that a lot of the Allegheny County Democrat Committee endorsed candidate did not win. And it did go to the their grassroots of candidates. And now on the Republican side, Mastriano did win, and he was a grassroots preferred candidate. So, I mean, I would say congratulations. Cara DeRosa on the lieutenant governor side. She was the grassroots, I believe, and I think the GOP favor her too. Of course, Shapiro and Austin Davis won. That is everybody knew they're going to win. So
Right.
Everybody rallied after them. And you and we did interview Ray Sosa, and I thought he was extremely impressive.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
he really seemed to know the office of lieutenant governor better than anyone we had talked to. I learned so
better
much
than
from talking to
everybody we talked to. Yeah. So let me ask you this. Like, I've been having so much fun doing the show. And just to get to know everyone, I know we have some great people coming on the show. We're going to start talking about some social issues because we know the candidates are going to take a break from the primary. We're going to hit upon some hot topic social issues. And my experience in the past few weeks doing this and interviewing different candidates, I just think that it's amazing if you open your eyes and ears and just listen to these candidates. You can learn so much from each individual person rather than the media paints everybody to be these stereotypical people.
I
And
agree.
ultimately, everybody just people.
So many Americans now are kind of in our echo chamber. So if you're on the right, you sort of see the left as this caricature, this stereotype, and vice versa. And nobody talks anymore. It's all through social media. To go out there and actually meet with people and talk with them and kind of connect with their humanity, you realize not everybody is as extreme as what the media is painting them to be. Most people aren't.
Most people aren't. And, going out there, I'm so glad you suggested to live stream. And I did the live stream when I went to, I forgot what my first live stream is. And I just thought, oh, this is a lot of fun.
You did a
And
ton. I only did a few. You did a ton. You did a great job.
well, when you say go ahead live stream, I'm like, okay, let me go. I forgot what my first live stream is, and I thought it was great to go on the ground talking to people and going in the month of June and July. That's what we are going to do. The show are going to talk to everyday voters.
Hmm.
Some people might be more activist. Some people might be more politically involved, but we are going to talk to everyday voters. And we're hoping to bring on more people. I think the candidate's going to be busy or taking a break all the way up till sometimes after Independence Day, like after 4th of July. But I'm looking forward to talk to a lot of the regular folks,
Hmm.
talk about social issues.
Oh,
And
sure.
yeah, I just talked to, a few days ago, I talked to a friend of mine who is a transgender woman. And she doesn't want to come on the show, but she did direct me to a few other places. So I'm hoping to reach out to those people to talk about, transgenderism, what it's like for them. But we can promise our viewers that we're going to go to the stores. We're
Hmm.
not going to talk to a straight white man, no offense to you, Bob, about transgenderism, but we're going to go to a transgender woman or transgender man to talk to them about how they feel about things.
Sure.
Yeah. And then, I know you're conservative, and have switched back and forth between Democrat, Independent, Republican, depending on my age, where I'm at in life. And as a long-term Republican, how did you feel about this whole thing? Like all of it?
I describe myself as conservative. So if you were to just kind of question me on all the issues, it would be fair to say that I'm conservative. But I don't see it as a prescription. I don't see it as a set of rules. I don't try to conform to conservatism. You know, sometimes we hear people say, "Oh, they're not a true conservative." You'd probably say that to me if people talk to me enough. I kind of consider myself a pragmatic idealist. And I don't know if that's a phrase. I mean, it's just I just picked those two words. I mean, I
You
kind
can
of
identify yourself as that.
I do. But if there's a definition for it out there, I probably don't meet it. But I guess what I mean by that, I look at things, I look at the divide in America, and I look at our problems, and I think we can do so much better. I always feel like that, you know, the road to improvement is right there. It's just right there out of reach if people would just see it. And the pragmatic part comes in is when I think about policies and logical ways to address problems to make situations better. So that's where the pragmatism comes in. We talked about immigration. Remember, we had,
Right.
uh, the Dreamers. We had 10 million people that came to the country illegally, but they had been here a long time. They built a life here, and it would just be cruel and inhuman then at that point to deport them. So there was a movement to help them become citizens. And I agreed with that. I think that's the compassionate thing to do. But my problem was if you just do that, but you don't fix the system that caused that to happen in the first place, it's just going to repeat. So to me, that's where the pragmatism comes back. It's like, I think the right thing to do is to give those people a path to citizenship because that never should have happened. We were in a situation that shouldn't have happened. So, but I have a hard time agreeing with fixing that problem if we don't fix the system that caused the problem. So, I mean,
Well,
generally, I think conservatives, Republicans are more kind of system, oriented. They have a better kind of instinct for human behavior. If you reward something, you get more of it. If you disincentivize something or you punish it, you'll get less of it. And that's just part of human nature.
but at the same time, as an immigrant, because when I first came to this country, I used to be leaning Democrat. I was a huge Clinton supporter. I loved Bill Clinton, because maybe while I was in college and I still had a big crush on Bill Clinton. And I think it's true.
We just lost some conservative viewers, I'm telling you.
Well, most of my friends know.
Okay.
Um, but I just think that why is it that most immigrants first arrive this country, all identify themselves, all relate themselves to Democrat, and then as they lived in this country for a longer period of time, and they start understanding what conservatism is all about. I think the conservatives, not necessarily Republicans, but I think the conservatives doesn't do a good job of making themselves a little bit more accessible, relatable. That's how I feel, right? Because, you know, my father, all my uncles and aunts, they live in California. Everybody arrived in the United States. The first thing they say that we're Democrats. One of the things you have to understand, I'm Chinese, so I cannot speak to about other countries. The word Democrat means more to people than Republicans. The word, the mere term of being democratic
They
is
associate it
what
with democracy.
exactly. It's what when we come into this country, we're thinking, okay, America is about democracy. So of course you come into this country, you say, okay, I'm a Democrat. Um, you know, and then but going through all this, like I have a friend who's a Pakistani, and which she agreed to come on the show to interview. She's become more and more influential in Allegheny County, socially, communicatively, and politically. And I just think that you're right. Everybody have to start talking to each other instead of talking over each other, or let the media dictate.
Well, I mean, the truth is that the national political parties, but they benefit from the divide. I mean, the more that they can convince their base that the other side is a serious enemy, that they're going to do harm, That's how they mobilize people. That's what gets people excited. Fear motivates. And the news media is the same way, especially now in the 24-hour news cycles. And little small companies can use social media to compete against these huge companies. They make money by people viewing and sharing and clicking, and the more that they can drive us apart, the better they profit. I hear them talk about solving the divide and correcting this. Nobody wants to solve it. I'm sorry. The people that are saying that are in those positions, they don't want to solve it. They profit from it.
When I was pregnant with my son, I remember I used to watch CNN all day long. And even when my son was, I love Anderson Cooper. And then I switched to Sean Hannity. And then all of a sudden, at some point, it seems that everything shifted. Everybody took their position and just stay there. And then the more they did that, the more everybody got crazy, over it.
I've heard it said that the New York Times has a long time been a narrative-driven news source. So the editors and the people at the top will choose narratives, and then the reporters are to go out and find stories and put spins on stories that support the narrative. And I personally think that's where Fox News became very successful. Fox News came in providing news with sort of a conservative, narrative slant spin to it. And it doesn't mean they lie. You don't have to lie. It's just the perspective you put on the news, and maybe sometimes the things you report and the things you don't report, but they're targeted an audience. And they targeted a conservative audience that no one was doing, and they were wildly successful. And I think that, CNN, I mean, they really figured this out when Trump came into office. And I think they realized that the more they could speak to that anti-Trump, hate, that the Trump hate in the country, the better their viewership was. And so here we are.
Honestly, I tell everybody I know, I never really liked Trump. Right? I didn't grow up in this country. I don't know anything about Trump. My husband grew up in this country, so Trump was a big name among the Americans. When he ran for office in the beginning, I thought it was a joke, right? So the only time it turned me around was because CNN and MSNBC took a couple little clips and just pound people at it. Like I did not, and surprisingly, I really didn't watch Fox News until CNN and MSNBC just took a little clip of Trump and pound at it. And then as you get older, you're like, okay, is this all this guy said? Right?
Yeah.
So, and that's why I went to Fox News and started watching BBC and everybody else is streaming. And I think it's essentially opened you to a bigger arena of media and to kind of see like exactly what he said. So everything was taken. So I think that's when you and I decided to do the show. We said we're never going to edit the guests' comments.
Right.
We're going to let everything to just be broadcasted as it is. Whatever they say, they say. And I think out of all the interview, there was only one person we said, wow, you really look bad. So we're not going to really...
We're not going to use it. We didn't.
We're not going to air the interview for you.
On election night, we started doing the live streams. You were out and about. What were some of the things that you learned, and what are some of the things that stick out for you on the live streams?
Well, first of all, I went to a reserve township, which is 4 precincts combined to 1. And I also went to Shaler, which is near my house. And I was really surprised there's nobody out there passing out flyers, working the polls. Reserve Township had one gentleman, he was with the Democratic Party, no Republican were there. And then towards the afternoon is when I'm getting flooded with messages that there's no ballots for Republican Party. And then they were saying, like in Verona, which is a tiny, tiny little town, and they had, in the fire hall, which is their Ward 2, they were handing out Democratic ballots with the Republican name written over it, which is really, really weird to me. But supposedly somebody have a picture of the ballot, they report it to the Republican, and then this morning I saw floods in Facebook talking about Pine Township, West Deer, Robinson, just all across the state. There was shortage of Republican ballots.
Are you sure about them using Democrat? I mean, I thought that was all part of the security, the serialization. It's automatically read, and I mean,
According to the person I talked to, there's actually pictures of that.
okay,
So we'll see.
doesn't
I
sound
mean, this is all, of course, in court it would be like hearsay, but that's what I was told.
wow.
So now and this morning we did ask the guest we interviewed, and he said there's no problem with the Democratic ballot.
Okay.
So I guess we gotta have to find out exactly what happened there, but that is definitely a concern. I mean, I think more conservative, a distrust of the whole system, probably than the people on the left or
Yeah.
the Democratic Party. So this really doesn't help.
No.
But I'm really excited about our show. And I think we're reaching out to more and more people. And I just want to say to the viewers, we're committed to continue to do the show. Originally, when we set up the show, was really for local elections, which that's going to happen next year. And that is, I think, coming local elections, this show is really more necessary because nobody pays attention with the local election. However, the local elections are what matters to the people that live in the region the most.
You know, one of the things I would like to do, as you mentioned that, is maybe use our Facebook page. But when we know who's coming on to be interviewed, we could let people know if we're able to interview this person, what kind of questions would you like us to ask? So give the subscribers a chance to tell us what questions to ask of different people.
Well, when you said that, I just remember, I mean, this really happened quickly. This show happened relatively fast. I don't think you and I even know each other.
Mm. Well, we first met and started doing this pretty quickly.
Right. We met each other. You and your wife came to a function at my husband's bar. And we started talking. We realized there's need. We just kind of okay, let's do this. And we just kind of did it, and not knowing what's going to happen.
So earlier, Sherry, you asked me what it was like as a lifelong conservative, as a lifelong Republican. And I talked about what kind of a conservative I was, but I didn't really answer the question. So I would like to say, I've just really, really enjoyed talking to every one of these candidates. And, you know, when the Democrats who I've met on the live stream and the ones that we've interviewed, I just find good-hearted people that care about issues. I mean, nobody has attacked, the voters. There was none of that. And, we may disagree on the best way to solve the issues. We may disagree on which issues are the most important at any given time. But I just have to say I really respect and liked every single one of the Democrats that we. So it's sort of softened me a bit.
Well, like I said before I was a Republican or independent, I feel like I've always been more of an independent. And like you said, I love Bill Clinton. I know some people are going to be screaming at me, but a lot of people that know me that knows the fact that I did love Bill Clinton. And I think the idea of America really intrigues me because here we are on this show talking about all kinds of different perspectives. So if you go to any other country, you either have to be one or the other. You cannot be different than what the government want you to believe. So can you imagine if, I grew up a little bit under Chairman Mao, then went to Deng Xiaoping, now it's Xi Jinping, and thinking the fact that my cousin living in Shanghai has been locked up for 45 days. And here I am, even running back and forth, doing a show with you, a live streaming, and expressing my political beliefs. To me, this is a foundation of the United States. Yes, I agree with you. I have not been a long-term Republican. I would call myself a conservative because some of the views of Republican I don't agree with. But I must say, talking to everybody, just be able to listen and hearing what they are, I believe Americans want the same thing. Rather from left or right, I think, like I said before, they're just talking over each other. And if we just listen to each other, we can really get it together. And I think that's why I believe in our show, which is having people come on, just asking questions, let them express themselves, and everybody can hear it, listen to it, and make their own judgment. I remember when you and I first met, I said, I'm really sick of the talk shows where they just say, here's what I believe, and then ask the guest, do you agree with me?
Mm-hmm. Well,
and clearly we don't do that.
Since you brought it up again, and I know we're kind of wrapping up, but I want to share a little story about how we met. So Sherry and I kind of met online, and we had some interaction, and we were in a chat group together. And I remember we kind of clashed, right?
Yes.
I some things I said, some things I really, Sherry, I thought was angry at me, and I thought I tried to correct it, and it wasn't happening. So I decided, you know what? I am not going to engage with Sherry online at all. I'm just going to wait. I know at some point I'm going to meet her. I am going to wait. I'm not going to do. So when we showed up at your bar for that, meet and greet, I came early for two reasons. One was to eat. I didn't want to be eating when all the people were there. But number two was to meet you before there was a crowd of people there. And it was great because it was like we hit it off so great right off the bat. I mean, as soon as we met and talked, I felt a connection to you. We got along great. There was there was nothing negative whatsoever. There was a total connection. And,
right.
That's just, I think that speaks to one of the problems of our time. People are too much online with, other people on other sides of their politics and things, and the humanity is just not there. It's just.
Well, I see you live stream with Emily Kincaid and her DJ, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same situation where you meet Emily Kincaid in person. I met her in person at a meet and greet event, and it's not what people say people are, and to that effect, I feel strongly about continue doing what we're doing, and I feel like we need to, I guess, I'm not talking about uniting the dialogue. I think we just have to have people have a platform
right
to talk, and then I feel like we agree more than we disagree.
Mm-hmm.
In total.
Or we can disagree without hating,
right.
without hating
right.
and like demonizing one another.
Well, essentially, I think, some people say, oh, either side does not love the country. But I feel like ultimately, at the end of the day, we all love the country. We just we just have a different perspective. And you're right. The media divides people. So is the government, right? Because if we all get along, what the hell what is the functioning of a government? Mm-hmm. They become less essential eventually. Yep. So this is fantastic, and maybe we can do more of this type of one-on-one, just you and me, and then
we'll see. I enjoy it. I don't know if anyone else.
Every 3-4 months. But we have some good guests coming on, and then I hope everybody's watching, everybody's subscribing, and we're hoping to get. Right now we have way more Republican heavy candidates, interviewers, but we are actively reaching out. Actually, I think you and I do more reaching out to the Democrat side, try to get them on the show, and certainly there is a distrust. There's some kind of apprehension because they don't know us.
Yeah.
But I hope they watch the show. They see we're not unfriendly. We're not here to get anybody. We're just here to help people to get their perspectives up.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, we're not here to trip anyone up or trap them or anything like that. I mean, I think that, we're here to serve. We're here to serve the candidates and we're here to serve the voters. That's it. I mean, we're not out to hurt anyone.
Awesome. Well, with that said, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and please continue to watch our show. We have more contents are coming. And like I said, maybe every 3 to 4 months, we'll do a show like this, just me and Bob talk about our thoughts and perspectives. But other than that, this is a show to serve the candidate and the voters.
Right on.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye.
All right.